up on WGXA News at 10, a plane crash leaves one man dead and his wife badly hurt. New tonight, their friends are talking with us. Plus, Congress demands answers from the country's top health officials about the Ebola outbreak.
And the remains of a fallen Robins airman arrive in Warner Robins tonight ahead of his funeral.
Don't go away.
WGXA News at 10 is next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm WGXA's Chief Meteorologist Jeff Cox. A beautiful day of weather in central Georgia, but tonight the mercury falling fast. It's going to be a cold one, folks. One of the reasons why, a clear sky. We had some fair weather clouds this afternoon, but they are long gone, and left behind is that crystal clear sky and the fast falling numbers. 55 already in Macon. It's 58 in Warner Robins. Double fives for Forsyth. 54 in Milledgeville. Already 52 in Dublin. 55 Eastman. 58 Montezuma. Near 60 in Butler. You're going to need the winter jacket heading off to work and school tomorrow. Here's our school day forecast for Friday. We'll start you out at the bus stop with the upper 40s. Low 70s by lunchtime. Upper 70s to near 80 for the afternoon ride home. We've got round number 1 of cool air tonight. Another shot of cool air comes in for the weekend. We'll talk about that. And is there any rain in the forecast? The details in 10 minutes, but the news starts right now.
Now, news that works for you. This is WGXA News.
Good evening, and thanks for watching WGXA News at 10. I'm Amir Jacobson.
And I'm Raymond Tubb. Well, one man is dead and his wife is injured after a plane crash at the Crisp County Cordele Airport.
New at 10, WGXA's Chase Ambrose was at the scene of the crash today. He joins us live with reactions from friends. Chase?
Well, right now we're at the beginning of the investigation, so the cause of the crash is still unknown. But tonight we know more about the victims. According to the FAA, a little after noon Thursday, a group of 4 planes were traveling from Florida to North Georgia and stopped to refuel when this plane crashed on takeoff. Crisp County Sheriff Billy Hancock says the pilot, 61-year-old Renee St. Julian, was killed on impact. His wife, 65-year-old Jan St. Julian, was airlifted to the medical center Navicent Health. The Crisp County Cordele Airport is also home to an air evac base, so Jan St. Julian got medical attention immediately. Sheriff Hancock credits quick response for saving Jan's life. Renee St. Julian was a former air traffic controller. He and his wife are members of the Florida Antique Biplane Association. I was able to speak to one of the officers of that club, Carolyn Myers, who had this to say about St. Julian.
Renee was so much fun. Very witty, clever, good pilot. Everybody loved him, and this is a huge, huge loss.
Myers says Renee and Jan were totally devoted to each other, and Renee had a heart-shaped pond built for Jan at their home in a flying community in Port St. Lucie, which served to make it easier for pilots to find the home from the air. At last word, Jan St. Julian was in critical condition. The FAA began their investigation, but at the moment, the cause of the crash is still unknown. According to the Crisp Sheriff's Office, Jan St. Julian's condition has been upgraded to stable. The FAA and NTSB will continue their investigation tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Live in studio, Chase Ambrose, WGXA.
In the morning, federal investigators will look at the plane as well as the weather to see what caused that crash. Our Chief Meteorologist Jeff Cox tells us about conditions right now at the airport this afternoon.
You know, the weather conditions really don't stand out as being a big factor in the crash. With my analysis of the airport and the knowledge I have of flights and combining that with the weather conditions, I have maybe one idea that could, and that's a big if right now, could be a factor. Here's what I think, folks. This is a rendering of the Crisp County Airport. They have 2 runways used, and the third is a taxiway to get to those runways. And based on flight knowledge, you're looking for a headwind to take off with. Well, we had a westerly wind at the time, so my analysis would say there was an option of either runway 23 or runway 28 to take off with today. The red X is where the plane crashed, according to our Chase Ambrose. And I would say right now, with a westerly wind, if they were using runway 23, the potential was there for a crosswind at times. The winds were anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour, occasionally gusting higher than that. Not terribly strong, but potential for a crosswind was there, which can create some havoc for not a skilled pilot. He sounds skilled, so I think weather probably not a big factor.
Yeah, older plane, too. You have to wonder if that played into it.
Well, new details tonight about another deadly plane crash that happened today near Gainesville. Georgia fire investigators say the plane had engine trouble shortly after leaving Lee Gilmer Memorial Airport. The pilot tried to return to the runway but clipped a power pole beside the field, crashed into this road, and caught fire. One person was killed and a witness pulled one other victim from the wreckage who had serious injuries. Hospital officials in Dallas are admitting tonight that they made some serious mistakes in dealing with the first Ebola patient to be diagnosed in the U.S.
Fox News correspondent Alicia Acuna shows us what the investigators say went wrong.
Underprepared and under fire. Today, the Dallas hospital that botched the treatment of the first Ebola fatality in the U.S. admitted failure.
We made mistakes. We did not correctly diagnose his symptoms as those of Ebola, and we are deeply sorry.
Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital's handling of Ebola victim Thomas Duncan is what set the chain of events into motion. With many of its staff now sidelined, themselves monitored for Ebola after Duncan's death, authorities will move nurse Nina Pham from the hospital to a biocontainment unit at the National Institutes of Health. For a third day in a row, nurses' unions waved a red flag.
What happened in Texas is an example of some of the missteps and an example of what we have to fix.
New questions also swirl over yesterday's movement of nurse Amber Vinson because of the man seen here in close proximity to Vinson minus a hazmat suit. The airline says he was the medical safety coordinator and was on the noisy ramp to guarantee protection. An airline official says he followed all protocols. As the decontamination of Vinson's Dallas home continued, other communities are taking precautions. Outside of Cleveland, where Vinson had flown, the Akron School District closed its doors until next week after learning a parent had contact with her.
This is a precaution, that we're doing to try and let this all settle down, let additional information get out in the community.
Meanwhile, a new screening process began at Newark, Atlanta, Chicago, and Washington's Dulles Airport, ensuring travelers from West Africa are cleared of Ebola before entering the U.S. Frontier Airlines is now reaching out to all of the passengers on the 5 flights that occurred on the plane that Amber Vinson took from Cleveland to Dallas. According to the airline, that plane is now out of service, and all of the filters have been changed, and it has undergone its 4th cleaning. In Dallas, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
Well, new tonight, a building is off limits at Southwestern College in California after a student reported feeling ill, but just hours ago, the student recanted the story. A number of students were initially quarantined, too. The student reportedly told the teacher that they had been on an airline flight with the Texas nurse who was later diagnosed with Ebola. The San Diego County Department of Health and Human Services are investigating.
New tonight, DeKalb County school officials say no students from Ebola-stricken countries in West Africa may enroll without proper medical documentation and the superintendent's approval. DeKalb education officials say that principals and administrators have also been asked to watch for anyone who has a fever and immediately ask them whether they've been to an Ebola-affected region or have been in contact with somebody who has.
Well, new tonight, President Obama is thinking about naming an Ebola czar to monitor the U.S. response to the outbreak. This follows a day of hearings on Capitol Hill where members of the president's own party say that he's not doing enough.
I'm greatly concerned that the administration did not act fast enough in responding in Texas. We need to look at all the options available to keep our families safe and move quickly and responsibly to make any necessary changes.
The president continues to reject a travel ban that a growing number of Democrats, including his former press secretary Jay Carney, are now advocating. Well, in the U.S., mistakes over the handling of the deadly Ebola virus are starting to add up. 40% of Americans now feel that they are at risk of getting Ebola, according to a poll by the Harvard School of Public Health.
Government watchdogs say the slow response from the federal government to deal with Ebola currently has not calmed people's fears. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell.
When Ebola first appeared on U.S. soil with Thomas Eric Duncan's arrival in Dallas on September 20th, there was an air of unmistakable confidence in America's well-heeled medical system to effectively wipe out the deadly virus.
This is not West Africa. This is a very sophisticated city, a very sophisticated hospital.
This, critics say, is a textbook example of an inept federal government that has few clues as to how to handle a deadly virus.
I don't think that the mistakes made have been catastrophic. I think they have been disturbing, and they have revealed weaknesses in our system.
Weaknesses that date back to 2008, when the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention sent incoming President Barack Obama a memo urging him to open up 18 regional disease detection centers to help protect the U.S. from emerging threats like Ebola. 6 years later, 10 centers have been opened, but none in West Africa.
And now the gaffes are piling up. Starting on September 25th, the day Duncan showed up at Texas Presbyterian Hospital, only to be sent home with antibiotics. Less than 2 weeks later, Duncan was dead. It took 5 days to decontaminate the last apartment Duncan stayed in. And then last Sunday, 4 days after Ebola killed Duncan, 26-year-old Nina Pham, one of the hospital nurses that cared for him, was diagnosed with Ebola.
The fact that there was an infection in a healthcare worker is simply unacceptable.
That was Tom Frieden, director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, speaking on Tuesday, a day before Amber Vinson tested positive for Ebola. Vinson is also a nurse that cared for Duncan. In the intervening days, she flew from Dallas to Cleveland, Ohio, and back to Dallas, potentially exposing hundreds of people on board those planes to Ebola. As Stephen Morrison puts it, the mistakes are not catastrophic, but the next one surely could be. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
That brings us to tonight's web poll results. Earlier in our 5 o'clock newscast, we asked, are you concerned about traveling through U.S. airports during the Ebola outbreak? 67% of you said yes, while 33% say no. Well, coming up later, Americans returning from Africa are being met with heavy screening. They're also being met with fear from friends and family. And one company says that its screening device may speed up getting the answers from travelers.
In other news tonight, and also new, a crash involving at least 3 cars caused major delays for drivers in Warner Robins tonight. This is a look at the wreck on Watson Boulevard. The Houston County Sheriff's Office and Georgia State Patrol are investigating. They have not said how the wreck happened or if anyone was hurt. The WGXA crew on scene did see a black man on the scene being arrested and a vehicle being searched. Witnesses on the scene say the light was red and traffic was backed up when the van being searched slammed into the back of the black truck. There are no skid marks on the road. Witnesses say the driver never tried to slow down.
New tonight, the body of a fallen Robins airman is back in Warner Robins. Our cameras were at McCullough Funeral Home around 8:30 tonight as a police and military escort brought Daniel Paschal's remains in from Atlanta in preparation for his funeral. He died earlier this month along with 2 other airmen when a typhoon hit in Japan. Visitation for Paschal is set for Saturday from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. at McCullough Funeral Home. Funeral services begin at 2 o'clock in the Funeral Home Chapel with full military honors. Paschal is survived by his wife, Michaela, and a 3-year-old daughter. Well, today, friends and family held a visitation for another airman killed in that typhoon, Jimmy Swartz. A funeral mass will be held tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Warner Robins. Swartz leaves behind a wife of 25 years, 2 daughters, and 2 grandchildren.
New developments tonight in the case of a mother and her boyfriend who are accused of killing her 5-year-old daughter. A judge set bond at $1 million each for Amanda Hendrickson and Robert Buckner in Monroe County Superior Court today. They're both charged with felony murder and aggravated battery in the beating death of Heaven Woods. Investigators found her remains in a Monroe County home on Brookwood Drive in May. Hendrickson gave birth to another daughter while in prison. That baby is in the state's custody. An autopsy shows that Heaven Woods died of blunt force trauma to the abdomen. Hendrickson and Buckner are not allowed to see each other. Investigators are still working to get evidence from the crime lab to prepare for trial.
Today, a federal judge in Macon denied bond for a man accused of shooting an ATF agent in Athens. 21-year-old Stephen McKinley will be held until trial. Investigators say the shootout happened on September 30th during an undercover drug deal. 20-year-old Javonta Darden fought with one of the agents. That undercover agent shot and killed Darden, and in return, McKinley allegedly used that agent's own gun to shoot that agent in the shoulder.
The Jones County Sheriff's Office is looking for a woman wanted for theft. Deputies tell us that 25-year-old Heather Nicole Simmons stole batteries from construction equipment where the bypass around Gray is being paved. Investigators believe she tried to sell the batteries for scrap. Deputies think Simmons may be in Dodge County. If you know where she is, call Crime Stoppers.
Well, coming up later tonight on WGXA News at 10, a doctor explains the most dangerous time for healthcare workers when treating a patient with Ebola.
And we'll tell you how a local church is stepping up in a big way to fight hunger in central Georgia.
We had great weather for the food drive this afternoon and great weather slated for Friday and the weekend. The front that brought our severe weather earlier this week is now working to take severe weather away from the United States. We'll talk about that and I'll look at the 7-day up next. What a difference a few days can make. Last weekend we had highs in the 90s. We had severe weather Tuesday, and today it was beautiful but cool, and tonight it's going to be downright cold. Here's the weather map, folks. It's pretty quiet across the eastern third of the nation, and this is going to set up a stretch of very quiet weather for some time now. Cold front trailing off the east coast and trailing down into the Bahamas tonight. Now, this is the front that brought severe weather to our area on Tuesday. Tonight, it will take severe weather away from the United States. Here's how. This is Category 4 Hurricane Gonzalo. This front will latch onto Gonzalo and force it to go north and away from the United States. So the cold front is our friend when it comes to avoiding a very dangerous hurricane. You can see the spin in the clouds tonight, the center, the eye of the hurricane there. I'll show you a closer view of Gonzalo in just a moment. But we take you home into central Georgia where things are quiet. Folks, it is absolutely gorgeous tonight, but you'll need the jacket when venturing out. Our first look ahead in the morning at 7. Oh, it says Friday on there. I think we're all excited about that. Looking for quite a bit of sunshine tomorrow with just a few passing clouds at times. The same goes for Saturday as well. Sunday looks good. Early next week, nice as well. A sneak peek of the 7-day. No rainfall on our forecast for the next week. On the temperature map tonight, it's 55 in Gray, 54 in Forsyth and North Macon, 56 for downtown Macon, 55 South Macon, also 55 in Perry, 58 on the base, and 59 in Fort Valley. Looking at all of central Georgia, mostly 50s right now, as cool as 52 in Dublin, 54 Wrightsville and Milledgeville, 57 Thomaston, still 60 though in Cordell and Sandersville. Those will be our warm spots tonight. It was a little blustery this afternoon, but as the sun set right around 7 o'clock, our winds instantly calmed down, and that's the trend tonight. The only spot reporting a breeze tonight is Sandersville from the north at around 4 miles per hour. My temperature forecast, oh yeah, we'll be shivering tomorrow morning. Macon, you'll be one of the cool spots at 46. That'll put you 6 degrees below average for this time of year, but with the dry air in place, we're cold in the morning, but very warm for the afternoon, so you have to dress in layers. Winter jacket tomorrow morning, shorts and short sleeves for the afternoon with a high of 80 in Macon and Warner Robins. We'll also touch 80 in Eastman and Cordell. The rest of the area looking for the upper 70s. All right, let's head into the tropics. As promised, here's that close-up look of Category 4 Hurricane Gonzalo. Look at this, folks. Winds are at 145, gusting to 175, but it's now moving north-northeast at 9 miles per hour. The concern, though, Bermuda. It will stay away from the United States, but Bermuda is looking at a direct landfall during the day tomorrow as a Category 3 hurricane. So, folks, they're certainly worried about that and preparing. We'll bring you the latest on that through the day tomorrow as the new reports come in. For now, let's get you back home. 7-day forecast for all of central Georgia. 80 tomorrow with plenty of sunshine. 79 Saturday. Another wave of cool air comes in for Sunday, dropping us back to the low 70s. And that sets up a stretch of 70s and 40s for highs and lows. Our Jeff Smith Fish and Game forecast, a peak just barely in the good range at 9:40 a.m. and again tomorrow night at 10:20 p.m. We had some beautiful weather today just in time. We were at Christ United Methodist Church in Warner Robins this afternoon for our monthly campaign to drive away hunger. A big thanks to you, Central Georgia, for making it a huge success. People were dropping off canned goods and cash donations for the Middle Georgia Community Food Bank all afternoon. That plus a donation from the church made it a record-setting food drive for WGXA.
Well, the total donation was $1,375, and we've just been asking for donations just the last week or two, so all that's come in the last 2 weeks.
If you missed today's food drive, no worries, you can still donate. Just visit our website, WGXA.tv, to find out how, and stay tuned to WGXA for details on next month's food drive. When it was all said and done, guys, over $1,400 donated today.
Wow.
You do the math real quick. Okay, done. Over 12,000 meals generated, and it all goes to the Middle Georgia Community Food Bank. So thank you guys for making that happen.
Yeah, they're making a big impact on a lot of lives
Sure
today.
enough, we'll do it again next month.
Sounds good. We'll find out who's monitoring the dog of a sick nurse to make sure that Ebola does not spread.
And some people on the front lines of the Ebola relief efforts aren't getting a warm welcome home. One volunteer shares his story.
Americans returning from Africa are being met with heavy screening and fear from friends and family. Josie Stearman spoke to a man just back from Liberia, and she has his story.
Filmmaker and photographer Holden Warren is back in the U.S. for the first time in weeks, but there's been no warm homecoming.
My mom won't see me, my brother won't see me.
That's because the Baltimore native has been delivering aid in West Africa, the hot zone of Ebola, since early September, returning home this week.
People are definitely like, whoa, keep your distance.
Distance has never been Warren's strong suit. He prefers up close and personal. In Liberia, that's helped him put a face to the side of Ebola we haven't seen. His photographs capturing children left without parents. A hands-on grassroots response. Even moments of hope and joy that have come out of the human tragedies he's witnessed.
I feel like the kind of the gloom and doom and the death and the just sort of the hard news is being covered to pieces. But I don't see a lot of like human stories. I don't see a lot of like stories about just the day-to-day life and how people are actually coping.
Warren himself is now coping with reactions to his journey and the fears tied to it. His trip through New York this weekend brought extensive questions at customs and an exam by healthcare workers who took his temperature and his contact information so they can track him down.
And we took precautions over there, and I continue to take those precautions while I'm here.
And while he's here, Warren is showcasing his work, trying to garner support for future projects in Liberia while easing concerns for family and friends.
Like the last thing after having dealt with this, you know, at a very personal level, that I would want to do is come back here and spread the disease.
There's a lot of speculation about how the healthcare workers who cared for Thomas Eric Duncan contracted the Ebola virus. One Texas doctor who is on the governor's infectious disease task force says their infections are not surprising. As Fox's Kate McCall reports, intensive care unit workers are at a far greater risk than anyone else for exposure.
Timing is everything. It's a popular expression, and when it comes to healthcare workers and the risk of contracting Ebola, Dr. Peter Hotez says it's true.
People are sometimes confused by what I say. I say, on the one hand, the risk of being infected with the Ebola virus in Dallas is very low, almost non-existent, and yet I'm telling you great risk to the healthcare provider.
If an Ebola patient walks into an ER with a fever at around day 8 of infection, he says that person is not a big threat to the staff.
When you're still walking around as an outpatient, you have a very low amount of virus.
Fast forward just 3 days to day 11, and the risk is sky high.
By the time you're in the ICU, very sick, you have a massive amount of virus, and there's a great risk of contamination.
Ebola shuts off interferon, your body's innate immune system, allowing the virus to fill the body like a bucket being filled up with sand. In a critically ill patient, even the tiniest drop of blood would have a high concentration of viral particles.
This is the time when you're a healthcare provider in the ICU where you're at great risk of contracting the virus, because by this point, the patient is practically a bag of virus.
When Thomas Duncan's organs were failing, healthcare workers inserted a breathing tube and put him on dialysis. 2 procedures that, in a late-stage Ebola patient, would be high risk for the practitioner.
The patient was intubated and dialyzed, which you ordinarily don't do with an Ebola patient, especially in West Africa, because you have no mechanism of doing that. So there's not a lot of knowledge of knowing whether this could have created some additional exposure.
Well, a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel is the first dog exposed to the Ebola virus in the U.S. The dog, named Bentley, is now being monitored by the Texas A&M College of Veterinary Medicine. This comes after his owner, nurse Nina Pham, was diagnosed with Ebola. She was infected while caring for Thomas Duncan at Presbyterian Hospital in Dallas. While Bentley is not sick, the veterinary school says that it's important that they treat him like a human patient.
What we can learn is that in his period of quarantine, which will be at least 21 days, we will learn whether or not he sheds the virus. We will also learn, hopefully, whether or not he develops antibodies to this virus.
The CDC says that there have been no cases of transmission of the virus between humans and dogs. That includes in Africa.
New tonight, more charges for the man who authorities say jumped the White House fence, went through the front door, and made it into the East Room before being stopped. A grand jury approved a new indictment today. 42-year-old Omar Gonzalez faces 2 federal counts of assaulting an officer and 1 count of possessing a large-capacity ammunition magazine in the District of Columbia. The indictment also named 2 Secret Service officers Gonzalez scuffled with, officers Felicia Bryce and Michael Graham. Just a few weeks after the security breach, former Secret Service Director Julia Pearson resigned.
Transportation Security Administration Chief John Pistoli is retiring. According to a statement from the TSA, he will step down from public service effective on December 31st. He's expected to work in academia beginning in early 2015, leading the TSA since 2010. Pistoli is the agency's longest-serving administrator. Before that, he spent 26 years with the FBI, including as deputy director. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson thanked him for his service in a statement saying, because of his efforts, our country's transportation systems are more safe and secure. Well, don't pop pills. That's a message from Georgia's Attorney General to Central Georgia teens. See why the prescription drug problem starts at home. New tonight, Michigan high school students could face criminal charges for sexting. A drug probe at Michigan's Romeo Senior High School led to an investigation on sexting. This after Michigan State Police found nude pictures of a classmate on a suspect's seized cell phone. At least 6 kids, 14 to 15 years old, are being investigated for producing or distributing child abusive material. A defense attorney says parents don't realize when their teens take pictures of themselves, and they shouldn't be held responsible.
My office is getting calls from other school districts, from parents concerned because they've found photographs on their children's phones. Right now, they're being prosecuted under the same law that adult predators and true predators are being prosecuted under, and I think that's a problem.
More than 30 students at another high school are facing a similar investigation. Well, shutting down another killer epidemic is on the minds of a state leader visiting Georgia's schools in Central Georgia.
Georgia's Attorney General Sam Olens told students in Putnam County High School about the dangers of prescription painkillers. WGXA's Noel Saunders tells you how prescription drugs can end up in the wrong hands with deadly results.
I will never ever use heroin. That will never happen to me. But that did happen to me, and it happened to me for an entire year.
Sissy Weldon is a recovering drug addict. She offers advice and some life lessons to students at Putnam County High School. Weldon tells students about her childhood and how she became addicted to drugs and alcohol.
Just being able to exist without getting deathly ill feeling. And that's what my life became.
Weldon struggled with addiction through high school and college and has a message for students.
I believe in young people. And if you don't get anything else from today, I hope that you walk away from here knowing that people care.
Prescription drug abuse continues to be a nationwide problem. Georgia is one of the highest prescribing states for painkillers, and many of them are accessible at home.
The medicine cabinet, in fact, may be far more lethal, have far more addictive qualities in that medicine cabinet, and we really need to get the message across to our kids.
Attorney General Sam Olens visits high school students around the state to raise awareness about the dangers of abusing prescription drugs. Olens tells me 10% of children in Georgia use prescription drugs.
It's okay for who got the prescription from the doctor. It's not okay for everybody else to have some.
Georgia Drugs and Narcotics Agency Director Rick Allen says addicts turn to prescription drugs when they can't afford street drugs.
It's cheaper and it's more available. You can go 10 blocks from the Dome in Atlanta where the Falcons play, get all the heroin you want.
Olin stresses the importance of school staff and parents to educate teens about the power of drugs such as Xanax and Percodan.
That was Noel Saunders reporting. The CDC says 1 in 5 high school students has taken a narcotic without a prescription. Last year, the state medical board also started regulating pain management clinics to help curb abuse.
New at 10, many non-teachers in the Bibb County school system may soon see a pay raise. Tonight, board members approved changes to the classified salary schedule. The new scale means that workers with below average pay will see an increase. Rather than seeing cuts, workers with pay that's above average will have their pay frozen. In other business, the board announced plans to get bids to build a new elementary school at the site of Morgan Elementary. That is a $14 million project set to open in August of 2016. The system also received approval to provide career, technical, and agricultural education programs at the Promise Center. Well, students at Fort Valley State University are sampling a slice of another culture. Chef David Colquhoun was at the FVSU today and will be there again tomorrow. He's preparing classic dishes from Chile for the students and the school's culinary team.
Se encuentran en Estados Unidos, pero se preparan de una forma completamente distinta.
He said he wanted the students to actually take in his Chile culture. Is rich in food and soul of the actual culture. So he said he wants the students to actually express themselves through the food of Chile, which is where he's from. So it's a part of him is what they're taking.
As part of the Global Chef program, top international chefs travel to different countries to share authentic foods with more than 850 colleges.
Students at Westside High School are getting hands-on training with robots. Westside purchased 3 small robots earlier this year for students to work on as part of the school's pre-engineering magnet program. The students learning how to operate the robots this week will be able to train additional students throughout the school year.
I love being able to choreograph the movements of the robots. It helps to understand anatomy and human movement just by teaching a machine how to do it, and just putting in simple steps to help make a whole program to teach a robot how to dance or do Tai Chi or something.
A state initiative grant paid for the robots. Later at 10, mass seasonal hiring. Last year's mistakes mean one company isn't taking any chances.
It's 10:40 on this Thursday night. What is going to be a chilly night across central Georgia. Time to get the extra blanket out or cut on the heat. You make the choice, but you'll need both come tomorrow morning with temperatures well into the 40s to start your Friday. Cold front moving off the East Coast tonight. It's the same front that brought severe weather Tuesday. It will now work to steer Hurricane Gonzalo away from the United States. More on that storm in just a moment. We're awaiting the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, but you can see the spin here and with the textbook eye in the center of circulation. Remember I said that cold front going to pick it up. It's actually attached to the cold front now. This is cloud cover associated with the front, and what's happening is the front meets Gonzalo. The two kind of hook up, and Gonzalo will follow the leading edge of that front, which drags it north towards the island of Bermuda. Here in central Georgia, the cloud cover associated with that area of low pressure, that wraparound moisture, it is all gone, and tonight we are crystal clear, absolutely gorgeous. Here's my first look ahead. In the morning at 7, starting out the day clear. By the afternoon, we'll finish with plenty of sunshine. Just a few fair weather clouds floating on through. Same expected on Saturday. Sunday next week, looking great right now. If you've got outdoor plans, other than it being a little cool at times, you're good to go. Rain chances are 0 at this point. 54 in Forsyth, the North Macon, same in gray. Double 5s from downtown Macon to South Bibb County and into Perry. It's 57 Fort Valley, 58 on Robins Air Force Base. Looking at all of central Georgia, the 50s have taken over, and it looks like the 60s are now gone. Cool spot is going to be Dublin at 52. It's double 5s for Eastman and McRae, near 60 in Cordell, 55 on the map in Thomaston. It was a little blustery this afternoon, but every reporting station showing a calm wind tonight, and with a clear sky and a calm wind, we get what's known as radiational cooling, in which the warmth at the Earth's surface, at the ground, radiates back out of the atmosphere, and the net result is a fast falling temperature. So tomorrow morning, we're looking at 40s to start the day. 46 in Macon, that'll be one of the cool spots. Average is 52. You'll need the winter jacket tomorrow morning. But with this dry air in place, it cools very quickly, but it warms up fast as well. So by tomorrow afternoon, highs will be near 80 in many spots. For Macon, Warner Robins, Eastman, Cordell, you will touch 80 by tomorrow afternoon. Back to the tropics, we'll give you that close-up view of Hurricane Gonzalo. Here's the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. This is the 11 o'clock update. We've got it for you about 18 minutes early. So we're on top of the game here at WGXA, and we're showing winds of 140, gusting to 165, but the forward momentum has picked up now. It's moving at 14. The one saving grace for Bermuda is this will be a fast-moving storm. When they get hooked up with these cold fronts, they literally drag the storm along, and so that's what will happen tomorrow. Here's the new forecast cone of probability, and the timing for Bermuda is going to be tomorrow evening with the center of circulation moving over the island with winds expected to be at 120 miles per hour. So Bermuda is going to get the brunt of this storm. It's a story I'll be following tonight and through the day tomorrow, and we'll have updates tomorrow right here on WGXA News. For now, the 7-day forecast. Here's what we see right now. 80 tomorrow, 79 Saturday, beautiful days. But after that, low 70s Sunday, and the 40s take over for overnight lows. As I mentioned, a dry 7-day fishing game forecast. Good range peaks at 9:40 a.m. and 10:20 tomorrow night. Again, we are bone dry, and in fact, I don't see any measurable rain in the forecast for about 2 weeks. If that happens, it'll be the longest consecutive dry spell since January.
All right.
We'll be watching it.
We have some breaking news just into the newsroom on the Ebola outbreak. This is a live look at Dallas nurse Nina Pham arriving at Maryland's Frederick Municipal Airport. She will continue her recovery after spending last night at Emory University Hospital.
Well, coming up after the break, Apple is releasing new products today. What new features can you expect?
And a little competition, why Netflix numbers are falling.
Labor officials say Georgia's jobless rate dropped to 7.9%. That's down from 8.1% in August. The Georgia Department of Labor announced the new seasonally adjusted unemployment rate for September today. State Labor Commissioner Mark Butler says the state is continuing to see strong overall job growth. He says in a statement that Georgia added 80,000 jobs since September of last year.
And we're going back to our live shot of the Ebola victim being transferred to a hospital in Maryland. This is a live look at nurse Nina Pham. She's coming from Dallas and arriving at Maryland's Frederick Municipal Airport.
She will be continuing her recovery there after being treated in Dallas. And you can see the ambulance is there at the plane, and they're preparing for her to step down and be escorted into that ambulance where she'll be taken to the National Institutes for Health. That's one of the centers. The Dallas hospital has about 77 health workers that are being monitored right now after treating the Ebola patient Eric Duncan that died. And so they are having staffing issues, and so they've transferred one of the Ebola patients, the nurses that was contaminated, over to Emory Hospital in Atlanta. And then Nina Pham, who was the first nurse to be actually diagnosed as a healthcare worker in the United States with Ebola. They have been treating her in Dallas, but they are now transferring her to Maryland, and that's the process that we're watching right now.
It looks like they are trying to back that ambulance as close as possible to the plane, so we may not see very much of her. I assume, you know, speaking of when the other nurse was transferred to Emory Hospital in Atlanta, and a lot of people speaking about the people around her not in hazmat suits, I'm noticing that those airline personnel also and medical professionals there are not in hazmat suits. But the CDC does say that that is safe because the victim and the people who are personally assisting her are in the hazmat attire, as we see right there in the yellow.
And they also say that the victim is in the suit, and so that helps contain any body fluids or any possible contamination. And you know, they had the man in the clipboard that there was all the news coverage about as the patient was being transferred to Atlanta. But they said he didn't have any personal contact with the person, and they say that, you know, it is not airborne unless you come into contact with sweat or feces or vomit from an actual patient. Then you are not at risk for contamination.
All right, moving on for at least just a moment. Looking for some extra cash this holiday season? Some of the world's biggest retailers like Amazon and Walmart are hiring extra help. Allison Cossack has details.
'Tis the season of hiring, that is. Retailers all across the country are getting ready for the annual holiday sales rush, and that means bringing on more workers. Amazon announced today it will hire 80,000 workers this holiday season. That's up from 70,000 last year and just 50,000 the year before. It might be boosting hiring after it experienced some problems last year getting packages to people on time. Another factor, online sales in November and December are expected to be as much as 11% higher than last year. As for the jobs themselves, they're at Amazon's fulfillment and sorting centers, and so far, the open positions pay from $10 to $11.50 an hour. Of course, they're seasonal jobs only, but usually Amazon keeps some of the workers on full-time. And Amazon isn't the only company hiring. Walmart is hiring 60,000 seasonal workers, 10% more than last year. Kohl's is hiring 67,000, Target 70,000. UPS wants to boost its holiday headcount by 95,000, and FedEx has openings for 50,000. Certainly good news for those looking for work. I'm Allison Kosick in New York.
Well, coming up after the break, one Illinois woman plans to keep her fall favorites around all year long. Plus, a final look at your forecast. Stay tuned for that. The time of year, and if you're not carving a pumpkin, you're likely drinking one. Pumpkin spice everything is all over menus and store shelves right now.
It certainly is, and one Quad City woman is making it a year-round tradition. Jenna Morton explains.
Everywhere you look, you can tell fall is here, and that can only mean one thing.
It's that special time of year where we voluntarily imbibe pumpkin spice lattes, the coffee that tastes like a candle.
It's like candy. It's so good. If you like pumpkin pie, you'll like it.
Sherry Lynn Gustafson is getting her fix, loading up on pumpkin spice lattes.
I love pumpkin pie, and this is like pumpkin pie with whipped cream on it in a drink, so I can drink as much as I want. Less calories, too.
An obsession 10 years in the making.
I got hooked, and I used to go get them at the gas station, and then I decided to start making my own.
But her love for the seasonal drink goes beyond most.
I get worse as we go. I start hoarding now, so I might have to rethink how many we have to get.
She's decided to stock up so she can drink pumpkin spice all year long, storing up 52 boxes.
I don't want them to think I'm a nut, so I get a little bit at a time. I could drink a whole box in a day if I wanted to.
So when the rest of the world has moved on to eggnog and peppermint, there's Sherry Lynn, relaxing in her living room with the only spice she'll ever need.
Whenever I need a fix, I'll get it.
All year round. Jenna Morton, WQAD News 8.
She had a lot of extra money saved up.
Sure. I'm not a big pumpkin spice fan. I just don't get into it.
I'm not either.
No.
I like the Christmas flavors better.
Yeah, peppermint, chocolate.
Yep, gingerbread.
Oh, yeah, sometimes maybe.
Yeah.
Good weather today, and if you like it, you're going to love the forecast. A little cool this evening once the sun goes down, and that's the trend, guys. Right about 80 tomorrow. Tomorrow's the warmest day. Look at the downward trend, low 70s by late next week, and overnight lows are in the 40s. Dry forecast, and again, no measurable rain in sight till probably at least the end of the month, so hang up the rain gear. You don't need it.
All right, a couple of quick prep scores. We have Houston County defeated Jones County 45-15.
Another loss for Jones.
And Rutland beat Spencer 26-0 tonight.
We're going to take you back now live again to Maryland, where the first Ebola nurse victim is being transported. Her name is Nina Pham. She is arriving at Maryland's Frederick Municipal Airport. We've been waiting to see her get off the plane and have not yet been able to do that. We did see the ambulance back up almost directly to the stairs, and we do see some medical professionals in hazmat suits, but so far, Nina has not stepped off the plane.
Yeah, we'll continue watching and stay with the shot until we leave tonight. We don't know if she's going to exit the plane immediately. We don't know what they're having to do to prep her to get her ready to load into the ambulance and take into over to the National Institutes for Health in Bethesda, Maryland. It's one of just a few locations in the United States that is set up to handle, Ebola patients and sick patients. Of course, the closest one is Emory in Atlanta, where the other nurse is being kept and treated right now, and Emory's had a good success rate. They've already successfully treated 3 Ebola patients. All 3 have survived, and you're talking about a disease that kills half the people that it affects in Africa, but so far just 1 death in the United States. Of course, healthcare workers would say that 1 death is 1 death too many, but so far a good success rate here, and she's certainly hoping for a good outcome.
And latest reports did say that she was doing better.
Yes, she is, and so maybe they can go on and get her wrapped up and taken care of. Well, we are wrapping it up ourselves right now. Thank you for joining us tonight. That is it for WGXA News at 10.
And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.